Hi, I'm Meryl Rafey from the Glass Underground. I'm here to give a demo, a cold working demo for those of you who have flat laps. Okay, we have a whole bunch here. We have 5 of them so that everyone coming for a workshop, there won't be more than 2 people on a flat lap. So here's my method. The first thing that we do is we take our glass, we turn it over, we make sure the back is dry, we take a big fat Sharpie and we make an arrow. Then we dry it, because if it's wet, we want to put some chapstick on it and mush it around, and it will get all smushy, and we don't want it to be smushy. Okay, that should be dry enough. I'm going to take my chapstick, I'm going to rub it on, and then I'm just going to mush it in. That way it gets into every texture that's on the back of the glass, and it won't wear away. Okay, so we would usually use 100 grit nickel bonded disc, but we're not doing that today because I have a setup going on here that I'm really doing some cold working on. So I'm just gonna sort of give you the same kind of demo, but not on the right disc. All right, so one of the things that we want to do here is keep track of the sides that we're grinding. And there's a couple of things about this that you should know. And I came up with this idea because I could never keep track of what I was doing. I would lose count. I couldn't remember if I did this side or I did this side. I'm turning it every which way. I'm trying to look at it. And so now I figured this out. It was the only way for me to go. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come to the flat lap. I'm not even gonna turn it on or you wouldn't be able to hear me, but I am going to start with my arrow pointing down. And I am going to hold the glass. I wanna make sure that I'm in the web between my thumb and forefinger, and because that way I don't put all the pressure on my fingers. If I hold it like this, my hands are tired already. So I want to hold it like this. And everybody has a different way of positioning their fingers, but still, just make sure you're in your web. When you approach the disc, what you want to do is put one foot in front of the other, lower your glass down, and then instead of going like this, because when you do that, you're all wobbly, I want you to go like this. Okay, my glass doesn't move. It is held stiff. It's in my hands. I am not moving my arms, and it stays perfectly still, okay? So I just count the number of times, as many passes as I want as I'm going to grind it down to where I want it to grind down to, okay? It's all subjective. Once I'm done and I have the amount of times that I moved back and forth, so let's just say I want to do 10 passes. I am going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I am going to turn the arrow away from myself and do the same 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I bring the arrow back to myself and I go clockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Arrow back to me, clockwise. And the reason that this is such a great idea is because when I do 10 passes this way, the disc is turning clockwise, counterclockwise. Well, I have no sense of direction, so it's clockwise or counterclockwise, whatever it is. So I'm going blah, 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 blah. And the disc, if it's turning this way, is hitting this side first, okay? So this, believe it or not, is getting ground faster than this. As the disc is going that way, it's pushing water into under here. It's hydroplaning a little bit. Even if you're pushing down, it's still different. So this gets ground more. You also have one arm that is stronger than the other. So if I just go this way and I don't turn it away from myself and do the exact same thing on this side, I am not gonna get an even grind here. This keeps it even. If you start with something that's perfectly squared, it will stay squared if you do it this way, okay? Once you get done with this, and this is just a flat grind on a 100 grit disc, just flat. We bring it over and we take our 220 hand pad. We want to soften these corners because they're so sharp, which is where I want to get them to be sharp. They're so sharp that when you go to our next disc, which is 270, it can chip off. And once it chips, then you're sort of down a slippery slope. So you put your hand pad in the water, and you start like this. And this is all you need to do to soften this edge. Ready? That's all. One swipe here, maybe one swipe there, it's done. Okay? Go to the next one, do the same thing. Little tiny circles, sort of at a 45-degree angle to start and a 45-degree angle to end, and then come back up slowly and you're done. That is all that you have to do for your edges, okay? Now, you might want to continue on your next disc to have all these edges flat, okay? Then you just go through the rest of the discs, and this is, we use the 100 grit with the 220 pad to get the rough edges, the sharp corners off, and then we go to the 270 nickel bonded disc. Okay, that's my rules for Mulrain's. The 270 disc, and then we use the 400 pad for our sharp corners, and then we go to the 325 resin disc. These are polishing discs. The reason that the nickel bonded are grinding discs is because the diamonds are held onto the disc by metal, so they don't move. They're very sharp and they stay that way. The resin bonded discs, it's a resin, it's a plastic sort of a thing. And when you get your disc at first, take a rough piece of glass, turn this on with water, run it over, and it loosens the diamonds in the resin and they start to twirl around, okay? And that's why it's a polishing disc. It's not grinding your glass anymore, it's polishing it. So we go to the 325 and then we go to the 600, okay? If you are taking your glass to, you're not putting it back in the kiln and you want a really good finish on it, I would take it to the 1200. And then if you really wanted it to be optical, you could come to your polishing machine with felt and put cerium on it and finish it up that way, okay? But the other thing that you can do is sometimes people want and Georgie's watching the whole process. You might want to round your edges like this. So if you want to do that, after your 100 grit disc, you would go to the 270 and you would do the exact same thing with your arrows, but instead of going like this, you would go like this. It's all in the wrist. And you want the angle to be the same this way as it is this way. And you just keep going like that. It's the same thing. It would be 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. My practice is that after the 100 grit, I do 12 passes on the 270. I do 14 passes on the 325, and I do 16 passes on the 600, okay? So that's pretty much it, all in a nutshell. You don't have to do any more corners after you're grinding, and you're all set with a great squared or rectangular or whatever piece. Now, when you start this, when you're thinking about going and starting your grinding, You have to remember not to think. You just count, concentrate on your counting. Don't let your mind wander. Don't talk to anybody. Don't let yourself get interrupted, because if any of those things happen, you are apt to lose your place. And once you lose your place, you sort of got to start all over again. Okay, so if you are going to use your cerium and you're going to take this flat all the way through, one of the things you should know is that between each step, you should actually use either your hand pads, once you get past 100, use your hand pads after 270 on these edges in the same little roundabout way, or quickly on your disc, let's pretend this is a disc, you could just go ring, ring, just to get all those little cracks out, and do that on every single disc after, or hand pads. Thanks for listening. I hope I've helped you. Take care and have fun cold working. Bye.